Hey travelers, Mag and I here on day... No, I'm just kidding. We're all done with the days. We are done with our trip across the country and we will not be counting days anymore. We have come back into Las Vegas and we're staying with my brother No Man's Land and Jax the Axe for just a few days before we head over to LA and get ready for our flight to Japan. But before we do so, there is one more special video I wanted to bring your way. As we've been traveling across the entirety of the United States, I have targeted every single library geocache that I have come across. Now, of course, I haven't been able to find them all because the hours have been limited on a lot of libraries. I'm there on the wrong day, whatever the case may be. But rest assured, if we were able to get into the library to seek out the geocache, we did every single time. Because those library caches are one thing I don't want to pass up. The problem with that, of course, is because they are so few and far between. Had I included those library geocaches in any of my daily videos, it would have given away where it was located, and that's not what I'm trying to do here. So instead, I've collected our footage from the entire last year traveling through libraries across the country, and I want to bring it to you in this special episode. Now, the libraries are very important to me, and I have been to every library here in Las Vegas, reading books, checking them out, and putting them back in. When I grew up, we didn't exactly have a lot of money. And the library was a place that I could come and be able to check out books, read books, and hang out without having to pay a dime. Once you have that library card in your hand, you're good to go. Not only that, but when things were rough and I needed an escape, the library provided that escape for me. I was able to come here and disappear in the shelves and forget about the problems of the world for a while I cruised through a book. Which is why I've made sure to visit each one of those libraries, because I absolutely love these things. So I'd like to be able to take you guys on a tour of the libraries we've seen around the country and the library geocaches that we've been able to find along the way. Starting right here at Sunrise Library, where I have spent the most time in any library anywhere. Countless hours here in the shelves, sitting on the floor, at the tables with a book in hand. Bringing them back home, I'd say when I lived in this area right across from Nellis Air Force Base, I was at this library easily 2 to 3 times a week, checking out books and running them through. So why don't you come into the library with me and see exactly what kind of geocaches these places have in store for us. Come on, let's go. The library, where adventure begins. I really couldn't have said it better myself. And by no means does my adventure in the library begin with geocaching. It began as soon as I got my first library card and was able to begin checking out books for myself. It began with The Boxcar Children, a series written for young readers at the elementary school level. In it, 4 orphaned children, Violet, Jesse, Henry, and Benny Alden, find an abandoned boxcar in the forest and turn it into a home for themselves. Those 4 orphaned children served as an inspiration for my young and growing mind. I knew that, of course, they were fictional stories and not based on real characters. That did not stop me in the least from cementing them in my minds as role models. They too were just young children. They too were poor and just barely making it. Despite the odds being against them, they never gave up. They always met life's problems head on, and if they could face the worst of the world, so too could I. Each time I visit a library, no matter where I am in the country, I am reminded of my roots. I resolved at a young age that I would not grow up to be poor, that my children would never have to know the horrors of poverty. I knew that educating myself was the best way to break that cycle, and the library allowed me to do that at no cost. Sure, you can go to fancy colleges and get yourself a list of degrees, but those degrees aren't worth the paper that they're printed on if you didn't learn something along the way. And I sure did learn something all right. I picked up every single book that I could get my hands on and read it cover to cover. My personal guilty reading pleasure is fantasy fiction. I love tales of imaginary worlds with heroes and villains, magic and sorcery. I would space those between less entertaining but very important reads about the real world that we live in. All worldly possessions can be stripped away from you in a moment, but no one can ever take away the knowledge in your mind. All libraries, everywhere, disallow weapons and firearms of any sort. Now, whether or not you agree with that making it a safe place, that's neither here nor there. But I'll tell you, as a kid, it did make me feel safe knowing that people shouldn't be bringing weapons in a library, and it's one of the few places I never got into a fight or had any trouble like that. The large black and yellow Safe Place diamond is a nationally recognized symbol. Each of the 25 Las Vegas Clark County Library District locations are officially designated as safe place sites, proudly displaying the black and yellow diamond right out front. And nearly every library I visited across the country proudly displays the safe place sign. It means so much more than just being a place where people are not allowed to bring weapons to potentially do harm to others. It is a bright yellow beacon to our young people, letting them know that if they are in a time of crisis, they have found a place where they can seek help. To be considered a safe place, the library staff have to be trained to be able to deal with youth in crisis. They can come to them with the problems that feel like the weight of the world is crushing down on them, and they can find help. And if you are a young person facing a life crisis, you need to know that this is a place you can seek that help. I personally have leaned on several librarians as a kid, and they each helped me to get back onto my feet.
The day's growing short. I really should stick to the park and grab that's on my list right now, but I noticed that just down the street from it was a library geocache. I love library geocaches, so I'm gonna just pop in here and do it.
Now that we're done exploring outside the library, let's go ahead and head inside and have a look at some of these places. With so many shelves to search through, it can seem like a daunting task to find just one geocache. So the best way to find almost any geocache hidden in a library is to start with the reference computer. Once you have the locator code for the book you are searching for, then it's just a matter of finding your way through the shelves of the library. A basic understanding of the Dewey Decimal System will make the hunt that much quicker. A lot of the ones that are hidden as books normally get filed into the 900s or 700s. The number that it receives ultimately depends on what the geocache hider and the librarian decide to work out together. Because none of these fake books are actually designed to be checked out, they can be categorized differently than the other books in the library. The absolute best place to start after you check the computer is almost always the reference section, because this is a little more closely monitored and helps to prevent the geocache from going missing. This game of ours has also grown exponentially since the first geocache was hidden back in the year 2000. Geocaching has received its own Dewey Decimal System designation of 796.587. There are many publications available on geocaching and its closely related cousin, orienteering, at 796.582. If you have no idea where to start and your search on the reference computer hasn't yielded you any good results, one of these two Dewey Decimal System classifications is definitely the right place to get your journey kicked off. Even if what you seek isn't hidden at that location, maybe one of the books you pick up will help you to gain some insight to be able to track that thing down. As you can see, the most common hiding style for any library geocache is a fake book hidden on the shelves. But that is by no means the only way that these might be hidden. Like anything else in this game, it's only limited to the creativity of the hider. In fact, some of the geocaches we came across were quite intricate indeed. Many of my favorite geocache hides were designed specifically to bring you on a tour all around the library. Sometimes it may take the form of picking up clues from murals and other things hidden throughout the library, and sometimes it may be as simple as sending you from one book to another. This particular listing, which I greatly enjoyed by the way, had us hopping from one section of the library to the next until we had explored basically every nook and cranny. The librarians knew from the start what game was afoot and stood back to watch us work. Many of them will even offer helpful hints to guide your search if you ask for a little help. And while that may be an option, I encourage you not to do so and spend some time in the library hunting around. The only hint that I will ask for from any librarian is just confirmation to ensure that the geocache is hidden somewhere in the building. I had struggled mightily in tracking down the key needed to open up this geocache, and that is exactly what I asked the librarian. Is it actually here? With her confirmation that it was right where it belonged, I continued my hunt until I finally came up with the key in hand. Had I simply been told where it was hidden, it would have stripped away a lot of the joy of having solved the problem for myself. And just like that, our hunt has taken us right back outside the library again. Many begin with a find outside, but most end with a find inside.
Go inside the library, find a table and a chair, look for New York. Lock code 567.
Armed with the information that we found outside the library, let's go ahead and push through those doors one more time. Let's be sure to pay close attention to the numbers in the Dewey Decimal System, because those are going to make the difference between a DNF and a smiley on the map. And no, this is not the geocache that we're looking for, but I assure you that if you read through the Complete Idiot's Guide to Geocaching, you will not be an idiot about the game at all. It is actually a pretty darn good read that will help new geocachers to sharpen their skills right from the beginning. Do you already know quite a bit about this game? Well, I can assure you there's always something new to be learned. And brushing up on some of the finer details of the game might just help you to rediscover the joy of geocaching. This book offers me assurance that the hide I'm seeking is nearby, so I conduct a very thorough examination of the shelves until I discover the prize that I'm seeking. There is nothing in this game quite like that little burst of geocaching joy after finding a particularly difficult hide. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the show as we peruse the shelves and track down some more of these great hides within our libraries. And while you watch us do that, I want to take this opportunity to talk to you about a topic of particular importance to me: reading. Reading is the fundamental backbone of a great education. And once again, I want to remind you that I don't mean the education that you receive in a school. That's great, and if you live in a nation like ours where you're lucky enough to attend a school to get an education, I absolutely encourage you to do so. But whether or not you're enrolled in a school of any sort, from elementary school all the way through college, I still implore you to get out there and pick up a book. And I could not care any less about what type of book you choose to pick up. Whether it's a biology book that will teach you about living organisms, both plants and animals, or a how-to guide to assist you in developing a new skill or knowledge base. Even if it's not a nonfiction book and you're not educating yourself about real-world topics, just the act of reading itself is a great thing to do. Just reading the tales of fictionary characters and imaginary worlds will help to expand your imagination. You might just find that it is the perfect outlet to manage a little bit of stress. It will help to improve not only your focus, but your memory building skills. You will find your analytical skills sharpening as your vocabulary is improving with each page you turn. Many studies have shown that those who read sleep better too, and not just because some books are so boring that you can't stay awake through them. As you grow older in the years, as we all eventually will, the simple act of reading can help to prevent cognitive decline. And if I thought for a moment that I could teach Ai-chan to read, you better believe that I'd have her nose in a book day after day. I attribute reading as the key critical element that allowed me to become successful in life. When I don't know about something that I need to know, reading is always the first place that I turn. Through the pages of countless books provided to me at no charge by my local library, I was able to give myself a priceless gift: an education about the world. So please, take this as that little boost of motivation to get out there and hit the shelves at your local library. Get out there to track down one of these many great geocaches and then spend a little bit longer to find a book that you want to delve into. And there we have it. Many great finds spread all through the libraries across this great nation of ours. I've been waiting all year to be able to show you guys this footage of these great caches and these great places. And I certainly encourage you to get out there to your local library and pick up a book and read. It really doesn't matter what it is: fantasy, fiction, non-fiction, sci-fi, or anything between. As long as you get out there, pick up a book and read, you are going to be bettering yourself in some way. And regardless of where you live in the country, chances are there's probably not a library geocache in your area. Or if there is, there's only one. But I guarantee you that there are libraries all across this country that could benefit from having great geocaches hidden on their shelves, just like the ones you guys have seen. So I encourage you to get out there and work with your local librarians and set up a geocache in your community to bring geocachers, just like me, to visit these great treasures that we have. Make sure to tune in to join us tomorrow evening as we close out this journey across the country with our final YouTube live session. Like this video, subscribe, stay tuned for updates, and we'll see you out on the trails.